Well, we're going to do some divine speculation today. It's Friday, and you'll have the whole weekend to think about what I shared with you today. We've covered the trials of Jesus, both the religious and civil trials, the scourging, the trip to Golgotha, the crucifixion, those that were present at the crucifixion, secret disciples, Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, who came to Pilate and asked for the body, the swoon theory. You'll have to go back and look at those past issues. I think it's worth looking at to see the swoon theory, the dead body and why we're sure he was dead, why the body was dead. The stolen body theories, why that's so unlikely, so improbable. The error that I made in saying that there's nothing written about what happened on the Sabbath. A new thinking about a timeline, and perhaps a high Sabbath and a Sabbath back to back, certainly could have happened. Could certainly explain why 3 days and 3 nights is absolutely correct. The fact that the Jews went to Pilate on the Sabbath to make sure that the body was secured in the tomb. A guard of at least 4 men, a seal on the tomb, the Jews and the Romans both wanting to be sure that Jesus' body was not taken. What could be written about the Sabbath, whether it's the high Sabbath or the weekly Sabbath? What could be written? Well, the only thing that could be written is what people were thinking, what feelings they had. That'd be particularly interesting if it was, as I showed in the chart yesterday, a back-to-back situation of the high Sabbath, the Passover, and then the weekly Sabbath, the day of rest, because that gave them 2 days to think about everything. The disciples, sadness, probably. Fear, I'm sure. After all, they'd crucified their leader. Why not them? Disappointment, undoubtedly. It must have been hard to be a disciple, to have sacrificed for 3 years, and to see your leader seemingly helpless on the cross, being taunted to come down, and not doing it. He saved others as they used to cry out at the cross. Why doesn't he save himself? How about the ladies that were present? The ladies that had been touched by him, healed, forgiven, loved. And then watching that frail body taken down from the cross, placed into a tomb, so desirous that he have a proper burial. How about Pilate and his wife? I mean, after all, his wife had had this terrible dream, and she said, "Don't mess with this righteous man because I had this terrible dream." And Pilate himself, knowing that Jesus was not guilty of anything deserving crucifixion, now would he have guilt? Would he have fear? Would he be relieved that it was no longer a problem? And what about his wife? Did she have nightmares for days after that? How about the Roman soldiers? Those that hit him on the head, those that slapped his face, those that spit on him, those that drove the nails into his hands and his feet, those that mocked him, the one that thrust the spear into his side, the centurion who, after seeing all of the signs during the crucifixion, said, "This must be the Son of God." What did they think? What would they have written to us if it had been recorded in the scriptures? What would they have said to us? Not with hindsight as we have, but going through the emotions of those days. How about the Sanhedrin? Obviously, there was a mixture of those in Jewish leadership who believed in Jesus or had at least sympathy for Jesus. There were those that hated him. Were some celebrating the victory? Were others feeling remorse? But what about those that were still sick? The lepers, the blind, the lame, who had heard about Jesus' wonderful healing power and they missed it. They missed the healing man. How about the thief on the cross, who ridiculed Jesus and now was in a place called hell? And he's looking around, and his other compatriot, the other thief on the other side of Jesus, is not there. He's somewhere else. Would he be crying out, "Send Abraham with a little water on the tip of his finger"? How about the thief on the cross who said, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom," who's now in paradise with Jesus himself? I wonder what he would say to us if he was able to write to us through the scriptures. And then there's the followers, just the general followers. They would go ahead and practice the Passover, but probably not recognize that Jesus was the Passover, that he would replace the sacrificial lamb once for all, that we'd be able to come boldly before the throne of grace because the veil was rent, and now we would have direct access to God. No more going through priests, no more waiting for a day of atonement, but being able to come to him day by day as we sin and asking his forgiveness because he paid the price on the cross of Calvary. Wouldn't it be interesting to see all of the stories, if they'd just been recorded, of all of the feelings of all of those people on the Sabbath or on the double Sabbath? Did anyone other than the Jewish leaders remember that Jesus said, "In 3 days I'll rise again"? Was it only those who hated him the most that remembered what he had promised? Jesus never broke a promise. He said he'd never leave us or forsake us. He promised us that if we would confess our sins, he'd forgive us of our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. I like the acrostic for the word faith, because that's what it took those 2 days. Those 3 days, actually. It took faith. And the acrostic goes like this. The F stands for forsaking. The A stands for all. The I stands for just that, I. The T stands for trust. And the H stands for him. Forsaking all, I trust him. It's a great acrostic. It's what we need right now in the midst of this terrible virus. The doubt and the fear, the confusion, the turmoil, the financial losses, and all that's going on. Faith. Forsaking all, I trust him. That's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.